James Maxine.
Okay, there we are.
He's gonna, and our title today is Storytelling on Socio-Environmental Projects. So we will hear from two of the members after James on their socio-environmental projects. And James is our special guest for today. He's a consultant in storytelling, and he's going to give us some general concepts and hints. And the whole idea here is to use the tools of storytelling on our projects, on our brands, and make the best on our communication. So on you, James.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about storytelling. So we're going to talk about storytelling for about a quarter of an hour, and then we're going to have 5 minutes for you to ask me some questions, and then I'm coming back at the end of the event to answer a few more questions should you have them. Anyway, so let's talk about story. It's very interesting because whenever we think of stories or storytelling, we tend to forget the fact that stories have evolved with our species. So stories are really natural to all of us. I'm 65 and I've been working with storytelling, with stories for about 40, it's going to be 43 years in February next year. So it's like 42 years and a few months now. And it's quite interesting because people say, well, James, what can you tell me, or what can you teach me about storytelling? Actually, nothing. As stories are natural to all of us, if you want to tell a story, you just have to literally, number one rule or number one trick or tip, you have to open your mouth and you have to have something to say, or you have to have something to say and you can open your mouth and say it. Some people say, well, hold on a minute, I'm dumb. No problem, you can use gestures. Some people say, well, you know, but my hands are a bit sore. Use your legs, do a bit of dancing, use your body. So it means that we're all there trying to tell stories. And the reason why we enjoy or we have to tell stories is because our brain knows that it's able to tell stories or to convey meaning, to create pictures, mental illustrations with stories. And we know that the person in front of us, which belongs to the same species, is able to understand us, is able to exchange stories with us. It's quite interesting because things like we are wired to tell stories, and we cannot really tell a story to a cat. We really cannot tell a story to a dog. And some people say, well, no, but I can talk to my dog, I can talk to my cat, etc. It's really not real. The only species we can talk to, and the only species we can expect it to be understood by, is our species. So it means that this phenomenon, which we say or we call storytelling, has got to do with our species recognizing itself. It's just as if we're looking at each other in the mirror, and then we know what we're talking about. So that's storytelling in a nutshell. But anyway, just because we're able to dance, it doesn't really mean that we're going to be on the stage in the Bolshoi Ballet in Russia. Just because we're able to run, it doesn't actually mean that we're going to win the next 100-meter sprint in the next Olympics. So it means that we have all these natural talents, like shouting. Sometimes we can sing, we can dance, we can run. But if we want to win something, like if we want to win a marathon, that's a different story, because then we have to practice. Yes, we can dance, we can boogie. However, if we want to be a ballet dancer, it means years and years of training. Yes, we can kind of sing, we can hum, But if we want to be like Madonna, we need a lot of training. So it means that even though storytelling is natural to all of us, if we want to use stories professionally, we have to align the stories in such a way that professionally it's going to be easier for the others to better understand the story we want to tell, the story we want to convey. And anyway, so storytelling is actually two words together, story and telling. And I'm just going to talk a little bit then about the first half, which is story. All stories in our species, they evolved to have a few steps that we cannot miss. If we miss out in any one of these steps, we're not telling a proper story, we run the risk of not being understood at all. So every story reflects the fact of life, the fact that we understand, we are conscious of living. So every story reflects the fact that we were born, we're having experiences now that we are born, we're conscious of life, and that one day we're going to die and leave a legacy. So we are born, we live, and we die. And all stories reflect that. So it means that any story that we want to tell has got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's not Uncle James saying it. Aristotle, well before me, said exactly that stories have got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if you want to tell the story of your projects, if you want to tell the stories of your hotels or hostels, if you want your guests to tell of their experience, you have to create ways of helping people to have a beginning, to say, well, that's how this story is born. That's what it's about. This is the experience. This is what I went through to get whatever I needed to get. And that's the end of it. That's the legacy, the message that I leave. So this is a story. So it means beginning, middle, and end. And the beginning, middle, and end, we can also add a few steps if you want to be slightly more professional, which is every story has got to be limited so that you know that's one story and it's not another story. So the first element of any story is to let people know that you're going to tell a story. We call that a vocative, which is a technical word, but it's nothing but a call. I say, hey, I'm going to tell you something. Or I say, Juliana, I've got something to tell you. Roberto, I don't know if you know it. Or I may say, Lydia, once upon a time. So when you say these things, you're marking the beginning of a story. After that, you have to establish who the focal point of your story is, who's going to suffer the story, who's going to experience the story. We tend to call this a character. So who's the character of your story? So I may say, Juliana, I'm going to tell you something. A few days ago, Roberto, so you know that's the character. And the character in the story, as I said, the character's got to experience, to suffer something. So if the character wants to suffer something, he's got to want something which is not that easy to get. And the moment the character wants something which is not that easy to get, the character is going to start like going through the experience of fighting to achieve whatever he or she wanted. So the character is going to go through many troubles and tribulations, many hurdles, and little by little is going to achieve, or maybe not achieve, what he set up to do in the first place. And in this process, the character is going to transform himself. And as the character transforms himself, we, the audience, are also going to transform ourselves. So basically, this is half of the same. This half of the story, which is the word story. And then the telling is how you do it. And how you do it is basically how you're going to convey, how you're going to show that which are the elements of the story. So what you have to do is, how are you going to think up vocatives? You may say, well, I'm going to use like mental triggers. So I may say, Mary, why are you so fat? It's not politically correct, but I'm sure that Mary is going to say, I beg your pardon. I say, well, I've got a story to tell you. And then you start. So you have to think of ways of drawing your audience into your story. As I said, you may have this triggers. You may have like words. You may have some cliche expressions, like, for example, once upon a time. I may say, once upon a time, I visited Lydia's house. That's fine. So people now want to know what her house is all about. Then a big mistake that people make when they're telling stories is forgetting that stories are always about a character, and the character has to be human. Some people say, well, hold on a minute, James. I went to Disneyland and the characters were a duck, a mouse, a dog. I can tell you something now. Goofy is not a dog. That's a costume. Inside Goofy, there's a human being. Donald Duck is not a duck. Inside Donald Duck, there's a human being. And Mickey Mouse is not a mouse. Inside Mickey Mouse, if you go to Disneyland, there's a human being. And I remember once I was in Holland, and I was doing a project in a place called Efteling. I'm sure that Johan must have heard about. And in Efteling, there is a tree, and it's a talking tree. And some people said, well, you know, there's nobody inside that talking tree. I said, well, big secret. It's not a talking tree. It's like it's wired, and there's a computer who moves the tree. It's animatronics, and animatronics is created by whom? A human being. It's a human being by proxy. So it means that stories, or the focus of a story, is always a human being. A story is always about human beings. So it means that people say, well, can my hotel be the character of a story? No. Oh, but the bed? No. The windows? No. Oh, the location? No. The character's got to be a person. And that person, when you're telling the story, you've got to make sure that he wants something badly. If he doesn't get it, the universe is going to come to an end. Pardon my French, to a bloody end. So it means that that's going to be a good story. That's going to be a story that people are going to pay attention in. And after that, you step by step, you have to be very clear what the character is going to do. Was, as I said, the troubles and tribulations, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to be able to resolve that problem, to alleviate that pain, to ease that pain. And then after that, the character is going to get it, not get it, or maybe not get or get it, but may not be sure about it. It's just like life. And then I said, if you're using storytelling for marketing, the final step, when the character transforms himself and the audience transforms themselves with the character, the audience has got to learn something. And learning here is not like going to school. Learning is like if one of your clients, one of your guests is talking about your institution, your hotel, etc., the experience of the guest, the transformation of being someone who was not well looked after, someone who was tired, someone who thought he wasn't going to get a good service, into someone who's not tired anymore, who's very happy now, had a wonderful honeymoon, a wonderful breakfast, wonderful location. So this transformation is just like a virus. And that virus is going to contaminate others, and one story actually draws in other stories. Just to end this bit, so that you're going to know how important that is. In storytelling, there's a dirty trick, actually. So if I want Alice to tell me something about her life, if I go straight into it, and I say, Alice, why did you betray your husband? She's going to say, no betrayal. Or she's going to say, well, I don't want to talk about that. It's none of your business. But if I start saying, Alice, I've got a story to tell about myself, about my 3 divorces. And then I say, well, I betrayed my wife 3 times. And I tell these horrible stories, possibly not even true. And I say, and I do understand that at times, we betray our partners, but that's part of life, etc. And I know you're not married anymore. She says, oh, no, I'm not. No, because I also betrayed my husband. I say, oh, really? And I say, well, is that name, character? She says, yes. I say, why did you do it? Then it's like what she wanted. Oh, I came across so-and-so, and he was very cute. And so, oh, I see. How did you get it? Step by step, she's going to tell all the troubles and tribulations that she went through. And I say, oh, and what do you think about that now? Oh, yes. So I've drawn in a story. I've extracted the story by telling another story, because one story links in to another story. So that's why it's so important when people tell a very good story, a very well-structured story about our institutions, our companies, ourselves, because we tell a story and one story extracts another story. We create this positive chain. That's it. My 15 minutes are gone, Alice.
Thank you so much, James. Wow, I could stay here forever. I was, thinking personally on all the tools and hints. So thank you so much. Just to stay on time, I would accept your interruptions and ask if anyone has any question regarding storytelling concept and bringing it up to our universe of hotels and lodges, and how to better use visual elements. So I'll open up for one question very quickly before we get into Johan, who is now linking and telling his story after this question here. We'll follow up to hear some stories.
Okay. If you don't have one question, I have something to say about hotels and lodges and things. Any questions?
Yeah, Lydia, I can see her there.
Lydia.
I have several questions, but I'll try to stick to only one. My question is about long-term storytelling, because you said the story has to have a start, a middle, and an end. But in terms of a company that is a constant, how do you manage to put this structure into a company view that needs to sell long-term? And I would like also to add to how to humanize a company, because we're not talking about a human being.
Okay, so that's 2 questions. Yes.
Okay.
So the first story. I can answer the second one, of course. That's in a second. But just the first one. The thing is, as I said briefly in the beginning, stories, they reflect life. Like we are born, we live, and we die, leaving a legacy. However, we are born, we live, and we die at every minute, every second of our lives, because we've got cycles. And one cycle is the day. We wake up, like we come up to life, wake up, we live through the day, have many adventures, many hurdles, and then we go to bed at night, and of course we leave a legacy of things to be done that day. So, but that can be done like every hour, like an event like this, going to last about an hour. So it means it started, we are living through these adventures, and then it's going to come to an end, and we're going to leave a legacy, which is going to be a recorded legacy. So it means that being born, living, and dying, it can be understood like as a fact, but also metaphorically. So it means, Lydia, that a company has got to be constantly telling a story. So you have to know how stories work, because you may be called to tell a story any time of the day. From someone like welcoming guests, to someone sorting out problems, to, I mean, it's a myriad of things, uncountable number of things. And you have to tell lots and lots of stories. But the thing is, stories define us, and stories, they define a company. So it means if you add up all the stories of every minute of your company, you have a day. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell you how many minutes there's in a day, but anyway, like if you add every story lasting 1 minute in 1 hour, you're going to have 60 stories in 1 hour. And very likely, for example, if you're organizing an event in your hotel, I'm sure you're going to have a lot more than 60 stories in 1 hour. So the other thing is to humanize with stories. Yes, things, occasions, etc. They just it's just like a film set. They're just scenarios. Stories, they create, Lydia, a user experience in a hotel. So it means that regardless of like the room people are going to go into, the restaurant, the bed, the location, the view from the window, all these things, to be humanized, you've got to tell a story about the user experiencing it. Because a window is a window. A window with a nice vista outside is just a window with a very nice landscape outside. It's how you feel about it, the experience as the user of the window. That's what counts, and that's the story we have to tell. So in a nutshell, we just save telling people about the color of the window, the curtains of the window. So it's a nice window, nice curtains, nice color, okay. But if you get to that window, that's the experience you have. If you see the mountains, if you see the river, the waterfall, that's what you're going to feel. That's going to transform you. That bit of transformation is the user experience, and that's the story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, James. Again, I could carry on. I have lots of questions myself. I'm sure everyone do have. We will have James with us at the end of the event. So I'll do a little interruption to link to another story and ask for Johan now to step up here at our digital room. Johan is from Sapapana in Netherlands, and he's supporting a lovely project. He's gonna tell you guys all about it. So Johan, welcome aboard, and thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, Alice, for giving me the time to tell about a really beautiful project in Brazil. First, to start, I'm a bit depressed because James just spoiled the magic of the Troll King in the Efteling. So yeah, I hope I can cope with that while doing my presentation. I will share my screen. Here it is. Well,
Great.
what I'm going to tell now is about that for all of us in this world, it's too late to be a pessimist. It's time to act now, and I'm going to tell you how I came across of a real amazing project, a reforestation project in Brazil, which I would like you to know about. Firstly, let me introduce myself. Yes, that's me. In various poses in Latin America. I'm Johan van Rijswijk from the Netherlands. I think it was 2000 that I started to travel backpacking in Latin America. And I studied Guatemala. In Guatemala, I studied Spanish and made it much easier to travel around. And by traveling in Latin America, I just fell in love with the continent. And for me, it was something I had to share with everyone I came across. So that's why I started Sapapana Travel. And Sapapana words from Quechua language. Sapa, only or unique, Pana, route or path. So freely translated, it means the unique journey. And the unique journey, that's what we like to offer our clients. We would like them to experience Latin America with the same joy as we always do when we travel over there. And basically our mission is to create ambassadors for the natural and cultural beauty of Latin America. As we know that we barely borrowing our beautiful planet from our future generations, we believe that all our activities should have a positive contribution to the natural resource and local cultures. We try to develop ourselves as much as possible. Every day we would like to become better, and we also believe that every relationship we are going through is based on a win-win principle. But we can work as sustainable as possible, but nevertheless, we have a carbon footprint. And to be honest, until the end of last year, we were not compensating it. And it was not that we didn't want to compensate it, but actually we didn't know how to do it. There are many options to compensate your carbon footprint, but we really didn't know what to choose. So then we made a list and to see what's really important to us. And we believe that we didn't want to just plant trees, but we wanted to restore ecosystems, because we believe that if you plant a tree and you give a certificate, it's nice, but it's not enough. We wanted to work with an organization that was fully transparent. What we see is a lot of companies who do carbon compensation. They are based in really nice offices, but yeah, to be honest, I didn't know what they're actually doing. And of course, as we are focused on Latin America, we only do Latin America. We wanted to have a project which was operating in Latin America. Then I came across another guy from North Brabant. North Brabant is a tiny little province where I'm based, and it's also the province where the Efteling, where James was talking about, is based. It's a really nice fairy tale area, the Efteling. So another fairy tale came across as I met Ben Valks. Ben Valks is an adventurer, an entrepreneur, and I met him by coincidence. I think it was like 10 or 11 years ago. I just finished an amazing project where we shipped 83 classic Volvos to Latin America, which we drove with, like, we were 200 people, drove all the way down to Ushuaia and then up to Cartagena de Indias. It was on Dutch television, and we made a book about it. And then on an event, I met Ben Valks, who just drove with his motorbike, BMW, from Alaska all the way down to Latin America, and wrote a book about it as well. And he was not only driving down Latin America on his old bike, but he also had another thing on his bucket list, and that was to see the Black Jaguar. So determined as Ben is, he did not one or two expeditions, but he did 22 expeditions to see the Black Jaguar. Only he didn't see none. No Black Jaguar for him. What he saw was this. This used to be the lush environment where the Black Jaguar was living. But as you can see, it's all dead. So this rang a bell, and he said, I have to do something to it. I really have to put all my energy for the rest of my life into reforestation this area. He came across to some professors from universities in Sao Paulo, and they explained them the importance of the Amazon. Did you know that 20% of our oxygen worldwide is coming from the Amazon? 30% of our fresh water is also coming from the Amazon. And 25% of our medicines, and that's something which is quite important nowadays, is made by ingredients that are derived from the Amazon. The Amazon also absorbs billions of kilos of carbon CO2. So yeah, it just says how important this area is. He talked with these professors, and they were busy with a project to restore the Araguaia corridor. And basically it's the river bedding of the Araguaia River, which is in the north of Brazil. And it runs 2,600 kilometers from the center of Brazil all the way up to the Atlantic, crossing the Cerrado ecosystem, which is beautiful but not that known to people from abroad, and of course the Amazon, which is well known to everyone. They wanted to restore this corridor, which is approximately 40 kilometers wide, and with this 2,600 kilometers in length, it is a surface of over 10 million hectares. If you know that 1,700 plants should be planted in one per hectare, then you know that we have to plant over 1.7 billion trees to restore this corridor. And the thing is, they like to make use of an existing eco law in Brazil. I don't know how it is in other countries, but we got so many negative news about the deforestation in Brazil. But hardly no one knows that there is an existing law that obliges landowners to have at least a certain percentage of their land converted into natural reserves. If you go down the Cerrado, it is like 20 to 30%. And if you go up north, it will be more. So even in the Amazon, it's up to 80% of the land that should be turned into a natural reserve. And many of the landowners, they are aware of the climate change. They know that there has to be done something, but basically they didn't know how to do it. So Black Jaguar is contacting them and making basically a big puzzle to connect all these parts and have their own groceries. And in that way, they really want to bring back the ecosystem as it was before. What makes, in our eyes, a Black Jaguar Foundation special is that they focus on the single project. This is what they do. So they don't have many projects all over the world. It's focusing on restoring this Araguaia river bedding. They are direct involved. They have their own groceries. They talk with the local communities, and they work in the groceries. They plant the trees. They talk with the local municipalities to get all the landowners together, and they are open. When I came across this project, and I contacted them, they said, "Can you come to our office tomorrow? Then we can show you everything." Here behind me, there's a screen from the river bedding. It's how you say, a picture taken from above, and that's what they gave to me. And I said, "This is what we are going to do. This is what we have to do," and so they're really open, and that's what makes it so special. And this is some pictures what they showed to me. If you are going to restore, then it can go really fast. So in year one, you see just a few trees, and in year two, on the right-hand side, it's already growing a lot. And from my experience, which I got from Costa Rica, in my opinion, Costa Rica is one of the innovators on eco preservation. That they started 25 to 30 years ago already with reforestation programs, and I've seen farmland which was farmland 25 years ago, which is now secondary forest again, where the endemic flora and fauna is overwhelming. So it can be done. So the examples are there already. So yeah, basically that's why it is a perfect match for Sapapana Travel. They are restoring two ecosystems to bring the original flora and fauna back, not just planting trees. They're fully transparent. They invite everyone to come over there to see it themselves. And it's not only restoring the natural reserves, but also because they involve the local communities, they have a big social impact as well. And of course, it's literally in the heart of Latin America. When we started to work with them, I said, okay, we have to invest at least 1% of our yearly turnover in this project. Of course, last year it wasn't that big, but I hope this will grow in the future years again. Yeah, what's 1%? We have calculated, and it's more than our ecological footprint. But on the other hand, it's nothing. And but if every company, everyone would do this, to invest 1% in these kind of projects, we will manage to restore within 20 to 30 years what we destroyed in the last 50 years. So it's possible. Yeah, and basically that's what we want to achieve. We would like to invest more as a company in this project. We would like to create ambassadors that spread the word and will do the same. And I hope that we are going to be a big example for other organizations to start these kind of initiatives as well. And that's what I would like to say. It's too late to be a pessimist. It's time to act. And I'm convinced that if we start now, we are able to. If you are able to destroy our planet almost in 50 years, then we should be able to restore it in 20 to 30 years. So if you would like to join us, just contact me, and it doesn't have to be with money only. It can also be with ideas, because you're stronger together if you would like to achieve something. And that's me at the end of my story, although I would love this story to continue. And I hope with the help of you all that we can let this grow, because it would be worth. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much, Johan, for your truthful words. This is a common value. Most of us remoters would like to work with social environmental projects. Not all of us are already doing it. Many of us have the desire and maybe doesn't know how to start, the difficulties behind it. So as you said, we're stronger together. I'm very happy to be bringing this topic at this event. I would like to open for a quick question before we invite our next linked story from Jassy. So if anyone would like to ask a direct question to Johan, we still have a tiny few minutes for that.
Is there anyone having a question?
Well, as I said, I mean, we're always in a hurry because there's so much to say on those events. And as Johan said, and as our idea is to keep the conversation going. So we will be forwarding all the materials from the projects and the direct contacts, although many of us know each other from within the community. So there will be more time, I'm sure about that. Okay, looks great, very interesting. There's a few questions coming up here. But I guess I would move on if anyone doesn't have any direct question for now. There will be other channels, definitely, for this conversation to carry on. And as I said, we will be forwarding the materials. Ligia maybe has a small question here before we move on to the next story. Ligia?
I'm the opinionated one. Johan, congrats on the project. I would like to know, you are involved in the project, however, there is no direct connection with tourism right now. And I wanted to know if there is anything like planned for the future, because I think tourism works a lot as a tool for raising awareness about projects like that. And right now, I know it's not an area that is already developed tourism in terms of tourism. How does that work for the future?
Now, thanks, Lydia, for this question, because that's a good one. When I talked with Ben, the founder of the project, they had like 7 years of preparation before they started to raise sponsors. And first thing he told me is that, yeah, we would like to have our sponsors to visit the project so they can see it. And if they see it, they are more enthusiastic and they will spread the word, etc., etc. So I said, yeah, and what do you have? Yeah, we have a basic lodge, and then we can accommodate the people. So I said, why aren't we going to create a hotel, an accommodation that not only is able to accommodate existing sponsors, but also can invite visitors to have a great experience over there, and then turn into ambassadors and maybe start investing themselves. So then you have a project, a hotel, which will gain money for the project itself, and on the other hand, it will create new ambassadors. So and that's something they are now thinking of, and but because they are not from tourism, and I'm the first one involved from tourism, that's something they are really open to. So also from that side, I invite everyone from this community to think with us, because we really would like to create something. And it's an amazing area because it's just in the middle of the Amazon and the Cerrado. So you have both two ecosystems, which is really unique. So yes.
Great. Let's hope this conversation can help evolving into that project.
Absolutely. Again, thanks a lot for the inspiring words.
I see
sharing
that
our experience.
time as a question. I don't know if we have time for that.
I would like to invite actually for us to move on, as Lydia said, and we will promote further discussion because there's a lot to be said on that matter. So for the moment, so just we are stick to the time, I would request Jassy to move on with his project story. He has a lot of stories to say, a long journey working with social environmental projects, and how does that also relate to his purpose and brand. So I would kindly ask him to step up here. And then, as I said, at the end, we will have some Q&A questions from himself and from James to wrap up with the storytelling tools that we learned. So thanks again, Johan.
Thanks.
And Jassy, welcome aboard.
Oi, Alice. Obrigado. Just to make sure, is the presentation on? It's everything in order?
I don't think, we don't see it yet, but you're welcome to share your screen. Maybe Diego is going to do it. I don't know, Diego is here with us as well.
Hold on just a second.
Okay. Yes, we can see it now. Perfect.
All right, cool. You know, it's part of any storyteller has its little moments. I have my Jassy moments, so. All right, guys. James, rule number 1. I will try now and open my mouth, okay? Even with this amazing audience and all these storytellers, you know, everybody related to tourism are by definition storytellers. So I think it's a tough audience here, and I'm gonna do my best. First of all, good morning, everyone. Buen dia, bon dia. Thank you, Remote, for another invite. So excited to be here. My name is Jassy Van. My friends call me Jassy, and I'm excited to share some stories, as you said, Alice, some stories. Definitely, they reflect a great deal of my own life, James. So I think we're on the right path here, as well as the life of our company. We do have our beginnings, right? And the beginning, we wanted to prove that ecotourism could be used as a tool for conservation. that remains, you know, a very important part of our vision and mission as a company. And we've been living 27 years off the middle, all right? And unfortunately, spoiler alert, I haven't figured out the end just yet, okay? But this is definitely our legacy, and I'm excited to share it with all of you. You know, once upon a time, in 1994, you know, there was a remote indigenous tribe of warriors deep in the Amazon rainforest of Ecuador called the Wawaraniko, who wanted to fight the oil companies out of their territory. And they invited us to become part of their mission. So we took it, you know, by heart, you know, this possibility to become warriors. Very quickly, I realized that I had no idea how to use a blowgun or a spear. And we say, well, the warrior thing is not going to work for us, but we can definitely maybe try and bring people from around the world to experience the rainforest through your eyes, to understand the struggles that you have. You can share with these people from around the world. This struggle will facilitate that for you. And then we created this beautiful story with the Waorani people that were and still are the last contacted indigenous tribe and nation in Ecuador, right? So the first 10 years, you know, trial and error, lots of errors. And we learn about the most complex logistics of all times, you know, flying logistics in, flying clients in, dugout canoes, camping on banks of rivers. You know, the most amazing part of my life were on those years, even though we were not making any money, right? We're losing actually a lot of money. But to me personally, it was the most amazing ride of my life, right? I became half Waorani at some point, got my Wao name. I'm Nanka, I'm known as Nanka locally, just because I finally ended up winning a blowgun contest. Probably was very lucky of me. And honestly, the Waorani people were the people who taught me amazing things, right? I learned the art of listening, of respecting, of accepting, you know, different cultures, different ways of seeing the world. And they ended up helping me define and figure the path forward of my life, of our life as a company, of our venture together with them. And, you know, it took us a while, you know, it was 10 years. And eventually we realized that we needed to develop something bigger. We needed an accommodation, as Johan said, and they probably will follow that path with his project. We created this amazing venture called the Wawaraniko Lodge. That was the first and only, until today, eco lodge in this specific territory of Ecuador. And during the next 10 years, you know, from 2007 all the way up to 2017, 16, you know, we accomplished incredible things while using ecotourism as a tool for conservation. We created one conservation area called the Yame Reserve. We protected during these 22 years of venture with the Waorani 55,000 hectares of primary rainforest. You know, we gained a lot of exposure, which was one of the mandates from the Waorani people to take the word out. So we ended up bringing their story, the Wawaraniko Lodge experience, you know, around the world with different articles in mainstream media. We won multiple awards around the world that luckily enabled for us to reach out to a lot of people and ended up being considered one of the top 5 cultural experiences in the world. So it was an amazing part of our lives, and you know, it was kind of a honeymoon that was going on there. And then one day we lost everything, right? The Ecuadorian government decided to give grants of this territory to an oil company. And the oil company came in, ignoring this process that was going on for 20 years, this story that was going on for 20 years with tourism and ecotourism. And unfortunately, the community decided to take the chance and explore the possibility to work along the oil company as well. And we, as a company, decided that it was not possible for us to venture with all of these new players coming in aggressively into such a pristine and well-protected territory. And this part of my life and story and our story as a company was brutal, right? It was heartbreaking. I personally needed to pull the plug and decided not to continue the project. I personally went to close the lodge with the last trip that went there back in 2016. And until today, you know, it took me many years to recover from that heartbreaking situation and to go back into the Amazon and develop another venture there. And at that moment, you know, I felt that, you know, this was it. You know, it was the end of Tropic. It was the end of my venture, and I wanted to stop everything. But, you know, even though it was a very sad period, you know, big picture, we were already working in the Galapagos as well. We were working with local communities, trying to figure a different way to do tourism in the islands. As you know, the Galapagos is a well-known destination for cruises, and that's how historically the Galapagos have been experienced. And we decided to bring this same vision of the local communities sharing their stories, sharing their heritage, sharing their efforts to live in remote areas in difficult conditions, and how tourism can be a force for good to help and create a positive impact in these local communities, and at the same time inspiring people to experience a destination through the eyes of the locals, right? So that was going on in 2010, yes. So at the same time, you know, I was we were losing the lodge and we were working in the Galapagos. I was recently married. I got my first baby, Alegria. I bought a house. I bought my partner out of the company, so I was the solo owner. And we were in the middle of financial crisis, you might remember, back in 2010. So it was a very difficult moment to decide to stop everything and just drop everything, because the Wawaraniko people made me feel very sad. And so I had no other way to just continue pushing, right? We got to continue doing. Our community was growing a lot bigger, right? We had a team in the office. We had these people relying on us in the Galapagos Islands, and there was a lot of other things going on in our lives. My own family, you know, my own tribe was growing. So we ended up continue doing what we learned how to do with the Wawaraniko people, and ended up creating the first community-based ecotourism venture in the Galapagos Islands, specifically in Floriana Island. We ended up representing this beautiful and only lodge in this small island of only 150 people and 10 dogs, last time I checked and counted. So, you know, very special people, very special community, remote area. You have a few pictures of my friends there when they said they voted yes for ecotourism and a different model to develop tourism in the island. So, you know, so life kept going, right? And we kept developing new things. And then, you know, we had the Amazon experiences, we had the Galapagos experience. I personally have been exploring these different areas during my life, right? And it was a client, you know, it was someone from anyone from the audience, you know, who said, "Hey, Jassy, you know, I'm very keen to climb Cotopaxi. Would you help me do that?" And I said, "Well, we don't really do climbing trips, but, you know, it sounds interesting. I'm curious about it. I haven't done it before, so why not giving it a go," right? So while I was preparing to climb Cotopaxi with this client, I ended up with the exact same view you guys are seeing here on the screen back in 2015. And I said, "Oh my God, you know, this is actually super cool and beautiful, and this is a tremendous adventure." And we were missing, as a company, an experience in the Andes, right? Ecuador is a mega diverse destination with the Amazon, the Andes, and the Galapagos Islands. And I felt like this is it. This is the moment where we could develop something in the Andes, right? So I decided to join the climb, and then decided that, you know, I fell in love with this place, and and convinced my wife that we should buy this lodge. You know, look at this is beautiful. We could do something like we have been doing in the Amazon and in the Galapagos. And you know, and I don't know, Alice, if it's the DNA of sustainable tourism, or it's just an intrepid, curious DNA to find new ways of developing things around here. And guess what? it almost ended again, right? And you know, this is part of this middle part of my story. You know, it has its ups and downs, like in any hero's journey, I guess. It almost ended, right? And now it wasn't a local community, but it was the highest active volcano in the world, Cotopaxi, that decided to start this eruption process, right? And we were closed for almost a year. You know, it was again a very challenging situation to figure out. You know, how do you figure what's going to be the mood of the highest active volcano in the world? So we didn't know exactly what to do, obviously, and especially, you know, how is this story is going to end, right? It's going to end my marriage, I was asking, right? I was thinking to myself, my God, you know, all of the situation that Jassy puts his family into. But fortunately, you know, it lasted a year. It was a rough period. And during the process, I guess, not only me, but all of the Quiteños, we were very scared, you know, about this huge volcano on our backyard, going nuts. But as soon as the volcano started to calm down, we were trying to figure out. We learned many things about living close to the highest active volcano in the world, and one of them was that 30% of the water that we consume in Quito comes from that area, right? Something we didn't know, right? I thought it was just the water magically coming out of the shower, you know? So I said, oh my God, this is actually very interesting. So we started doing some research, connecting to NGOs, working around water conservation, like the Nature Conservancy. And I started exploring and going to visit these watersheds because the volcano was still kind of active, and we were trying to figure what was going to happen to the lodge and how we could engage into some conservation initiative as soon as things went back to normal. And we ended up learning a great deal about water, and we ended up developing, you know, a conservation initiative from a tourism venture again to try and protect the watersheds for the city of Quito, right? Which is, you know, something we still do nowadays through environmental education. On our hikes, on our treks, we speak a lot about the importance of conservation of water. Everybody's talking about climate change. I was shocked to see that dry area that Johan shared with us, but that's the reality of what's happening around the world, right? So we need to do something about it, and we are doing something about that, right? But we are doing through inspiring, beautiful, amazing lodges and experiences and adventure, right? Oh, and by the way, we all survived, right? That's Patricio there, one of our local guides, and Eugenia and Cristina, who work at the lodge, and Rafael, a guy that we helped set up a horse riding operation inside the national park, you know, and everybody is super excited now to have survived even a pandemic, and the lodge is still there going on. And just towards the end of this, we ended up falling in love with a love story, right? You have there on the screen Polo, one of the first Ecuadorian entrepreneurs doing tourism in the Galapagos Islands, you know, 40 years ago. And this is a guy that really inspired us to his commitment to preserve this beautiful 40-hectare reserve of giant tortoises, right? And it was thanks to Polo that we decided to create a new venture, a new conservation initiative that we have going on around here called the Galapagos Forest Initiative. This is, you know, inspired by the fact that, you know, ecotourism, again, can be used as a tool for conservation. So we decided to separate 12 hectares of this giant tortoise sanctuary to create, you know, a project that will recuperate the original habitat of the giant tortoises, right? And enhance the experience of clients staying at this beautiful place called the Galapagos Magic, which is this African safari style tented camp. So our goal and our plan is to recuperate this habitat by planting 48,000 endemic trees in the next 5 years, right? The idea is to bring back the original ecosystem by doing a reforestation program, sponsored and powered obviously by ecotourism, right? And the idea is obviously to improve the lifestyle of the giant tortoises, but at the same time enhance our clients' journey. We believe that travelers coming to Ecuador and traveling with us should be always engaging into some kind of educational and conservation initiative. So the Galapagos Forest Initiative, you know, the plan is for each of clients staying at the lodge will contribute with $10 per night while staying at the lodge. We are also going to launch this initiative along with Remote to bring sponsors to support the startup of this venture. And we're going to be sending a lot more details about this program soon with Alice coordinating this whole thing. But, you know, and we really look forward to your support. So one thing, you know, that I wanted to show, you know, even though, as James said, you know, this is, you know, one person, you know, we have to give a persona here. The persona here is really the team, right? We have a dream team that enables for us to go into these different crazy adventures and is a monumental task. And I'm super proud to represent everybody today here and in general when I have the opportunity to share a story. And, you know, guys, going back to the DNA thing, you know, I am honestly unsure why I ended up involved in so many different things. I guess it's curiosity, but it's also an understanding that these places, these people, the cultures are part of our business, right? And I would love to see everyone pursuing this kind of ventures, right? That will enable for us to continue sharing these over the years, right? I guess the happy ending would be to be able to continue sharing the destinations the way they are without, you know, the so complex developments of climate change and our own overdevelopment of certain areas that are so fragile when you talk about these unique ecosystems. So I guess the key words here, obviously we are in this together, guys. You know, this is post-COVID thinking, you know, we've been resilient. If we're still on this call, it's because we made it, right? We are resilient in this industry, in this community. It's time to think about the rebirth of travel, how we want to continue doing our businesses. It's time to renew our vows or to renew the way we want to develop our lives and our businesses, especially when we talk about ecotourism. And it's time to rewild, right? I think that's the goal that Johan has. We are also thinking about the unique ecosystems and wildlife that live in these areas. So, you know, very excited to be here, very excited to share my story with you guys. We're still in the middle, no ending yet, but I'm very excited about the next chapters of it. So, muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado.
Muchas gracias, Jassy. Thanks a lot. Thanks for bringing up your feelings, your emotions. I guess this is all about the Seeds events and the talks, you know, to share the vulnerable parts and the questions. So I thank you on behalf of everyone. Again, there's a lot of stories here of resilience. That's very inspiring. So I would like, we're a bit over time, guys. So I ask, I'm sorry for everyone, but it's an invitation for everyone who could stay a few more minutes. I would like to open up for quick questions for Jassy. Remembering that technical questions, it's not necessary, as we will be forwarding all the materials and we will have time to one-on-one direct messaging. So, but I'd like to invite if anyone has any direct questions for Jassy, and as well invite questions for James. So coming up to the end of the event, remembering that James open up bringing concepts of storytelling, and we would like his last minutes here with us. Maybe if anyone has any specific question on how to adapt, and also how were the presentations, the elements of storytelling. So I open up the mics for everyone who feels like placing any comment and questions.
I'll just say something to Jess. When we have a team going through a story, we create an avatar. So a story is always about the character. If that character consists of like many characters, we create an average, like a team, and we call that an avatar. So at times we have to think of an avatar, which is a group of people living an adventure, which is interesting.
That's cool. That's cool, James. Thank you. You know, we've been working for a few years now on something we call internally the hero's journey.
Yeah.
And we definitely should design our avatar through that complicated hero's journey. You know, once upon a time, it was just we had, you know, the reason why, sense of purpose. And nowadays, it became so dramatically complicated, that path to get to the sense of purpose, that we created this hero journey internally, and we are walking the talk.
Remember that when you have like a company or an institution or an institute, whatever you have, a hero's journey is something ongoing. You're going to be creating that for a long, long time. It's a macro story, because literally what you're creating is a myth. Not the negative connotation of the word myth, but the positive connotation, you know. So your legacy, like, I don't know, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, people are going to look back and say, wow, you know, that's what they've gone through to achieve something, and to leave this for us to build something up on.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you.
I wanted to ask Simon to read himself or talk himself about the comment that he just made on the chat.
Well, I'm getting emotional here. I mean, we haven't had any tears yet today, but I can do it. I can do the tears. And I said saudades. I've saudades of Jassy, because we used to work together so much, and these days we don't speak very often. And saudades of the Guarani. Me and Stuart exchanged a few messages earlier, but Stuart was on one of the fam trips I took to the Wawaraniko Lodge, and Johan wasn't, but he should have been. I'm pretty sure I invited him, but he couldn't come. But yeah, it was, you know, it really was formative, and it does make me emotional. You know, it was the kind of realization and the crystallization of purpose, and that we can, yes, we can put people on planes and worry about their carbon, but that actually we can have transforming experiences and I just laugh as well. You know, I just think about Moi, and I think you know, it's so much fun times, didn't we? I remember one time when Moi was trying to get me to buy a blowgun to take back to England, having been out there, you know, in the forests. And I sort of, in an English way, went and chose this very small one. And he looked at me in Spanish and said, "Simon, that is not a blowgun." And I said, "Jassy, I can't," not Jassy. I said, "Moi, I can't take it on the plane if it's any bigger." But because of Moi had taken his 12-foot blowgun to the US, hadn't he, Jassy, to present to what was the institute that he presented it to, and he got all sorts of incredible papers filled out that allowed him to do that. But he couldn't understand why I was getting this small. It's a Crocodile Dundee moment. It's not about the size, Moi. It's the way you use it. But yeah, I'm going to stop now. But yeah, it was fantastic. And we need more Wawaraniko lodges. Senderos needs more, but we all need more.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Simon. I'm still have some questions to James. I'm sorry if
No worries.
I'm taking too long here, but I was thinking that here we have companies that sell services, even if they are like TMCs, hotels, or travel agents. So in that case, who is the main character, or do they need to have a main character when they're telling someone else's story?
The user. The character is always the user. It's a user experience. So you have to think of your user, and that's the main character. If you have a group of users, you create an avatar of users.
And the difficult part here maybe is to connect the stories in in a way that makes sense, as you have different.
Yes, if you have like well, actually, if the same institution telling its story, you may have different characters, but one story. So it's like in a novel, you know, you've got many different characters, you've got many different stories interwoven, but it's still like one novel. So it's just writing a book, like creating a Netflix series.
Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Well, guys, I think we're coming to the end of the event. I would like to be strict to our timing here and thank everyone who joined for a quick learning session. And I guess this is as Johan said, it's too late not to give so much attention to those projects. I mean, they are part of the DNA of all of us remoters, and I'm super glad we brought that to the first discussion. And 2 great showcases here. And again, it's lovely to hear, James, some tools, you know, because we do have to communicate as much as possible and resonate to our brand, because they are necessary projects, and talk with all our hearts and avatars. So guys, as I said, we will move on with this conversation on a follow-up email with all the contacts and the materials, also James' contacts. And so on behalf of Remote, thank everyone who made it today. And see you soon for our next Seeds event.
Wonderful. Gracias, Alice.
Gracias a ti. Ciao, ciao, guys. Thanks a lot.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.
Thanks, Johan.